am excited to be here. This ought to be your favorite class. And don't tell the other professors I've said that, but this is a pass-fail class. We're going to go through how you get it, but it's really just a matter of coming and listening to a bunch of lectures. And we'll discuss the point system. I notice many of you have been in the syllabus, and if you've read the syllabus, is this too loud, by the way? Is this mic too loud? You okay? If you've read the syllabus, you'll know much about what we're going to discuss today. But this is a great lecture series. I'm really grateful. Most of my work was done last semester for this class, right? It's arranging a bunch of these speakers to come and listen. And so if you think I don't do much, you're right. I'm not going to do much the rest of the semester. Haley, who you saw speak today, introduced me. That's my normal role, is to introduce the speakers, and then she takes care of all the grading. So I have done some work, but it was 3 or 4 months ago as we arranged the group of speakers. For those of you who are interested, all the speakers and their pictures aren't on the syllabus, are there? All the speakers' names are on it. If you'd like to know who's coming, you can. If you came in a little bit later, they weren't here when some of your early birds arrived. But there's a pamphlet here that'll tell everyone who's speaking a little bit of their bio and their pictures, and we'll go over them a little bit today. So, as Haley told you, this is a lecture series, as you read in the syllabus. I think most of you need to take this class in order to graduate, correct? You either need to take this or the entrepreneurs. And some of you have written to me and said, I really want to take the online version, but they limit how many people go to that so that we'll have some people here for the class when the speakers come. So I'm thrilled you're going to be here, and we'll talk about how you can get through this class very easily and what we hope you will accomplish in this class. So all the materials you're going to need, every communication you need to do can be done on Canvas. Any questions about that? This is going to be, by the way, a fairly fluid morning. We can talk back and forth. So everything you need to see is going to be on Canvas. Haley will do a great job of communicating with you through Canvas. Our mission, your mission, ought to be to understand the lessons learned by business leaders. I want to talk to you. We're going to have 14 or 15 different speakers, as we do every semester. And some of those speakers just aren't going to relate to you. Can you learn anything from a speaker who doesn't relate to you? He says no. I hope all the rest of you say yes, and we'll fail him and the rest of you already passed. So last year, at the end of the semester, you get back at them. You get to rate every speaker that came, and you say definitely bring him or her back to the university, or please never have him come again. And from that, we develop a better list of speakers who ought to come again. But last time we had about 90 students say, definitely have this speaker come back again. I won't tell you who he or she was. And one speaker who said, never let this person back on campus. So what do? We're going to have them back on campus? If that speaker doesn't relate with you, that's okay. Maybe you can learn things you don't want to do. I've learned from some of these speakers things I definitely don't want to do. I do not want to pattern my life after what he or she is doing. And others, I say, boy, that's great. And the same will be true with me. There'll be some of you who say, that's a pretty good experience he's had, and others who said, I would never want to live on an airplane as much as he has. So you can make that determination as you go forward, but it ought to be right for you. We hope you'll learn from the best. Again, many of these speakers I've known in my professional life for many years. Some of them are new to me as they are new to you. And so you will be able to learn and hear from speakers who have had a breadth of experience. I'm excited to tell you who they are as we go through them. And throughout your life, you've been surrounded by leaders. How many of you have been a leader? And my guess is all your hands should be up, because I'm going to talk about some different kind of leaderships that you have. When you're a new child, you have a leader as often your parent, but isn't it an older brother or sister? So I want to know, how many of you have a younger brother or sister in your home, or a child? So by definition, you've all been leaders. Good ones or bad ones, but you've been a leader, right? So having a child or being a child is a form of leadership. How many of you have had to study homework and had mom or dad help them? My guess is you've watched their leadership styles for good or for bad. How many of you have, whoops, sorry, I remembered I need to point up there. You've been in a classroom. Your teacher has been a leader. You've been on a team. How many of you have had a coach? How many of you thought that coach is definitely the kind of person you want to be like? How many of you thought that coach developed a little bit more fear than maybe leadership growth? Again, both work, right? So you'll see that type of leader, and you've been surrounded by leaders and you've studied them. You've had leaders in a scouting organization, and to be equal, I tried to have Girl Scouts here for those who might have been Boy Scouts. Perhaps more of you have been Boy Scouts. Did I get them too? Yes, okay, good. I went girls first. I hope that's okay. You've been in maybe not, the one was supposed to show a younger team, but here we have older teams at UVU. How many of you have been on a collegiate, how many have been on a high school team? Okay, there's the athletes. Now the real athletes. How many have been on a collegiate team? We have a few of you in here. Great. That's a level of dedication both for the athlete and for the teacher, the leader. How many of you have had a job somewhere along the way? Okay? Have you, and you've experienced good and bad leadership. Most of the leaders that we'll have are a little bit more advanced leadership than perhaps a fast food, although one of our most popular speakers last year was Andrew and Shauna Smith, who run 4 food groups. Are you familiar with them? They used to have the Kneaders franchise. So anyway, different ways of having leadership. Again, we got some men's sports in there too. If you're in any kind of relationship, and this is a more loving touch that Haley gives us. You see how it kind of fluttered into this. She's got that softer side. But in a relationship, it's there a time that you're a follower and a time that you're a leader. So we hope the skill sets you learn as a leader in this class and from leaders will help perfect every aspect of your life. We have a leader in politics. Do we always agree with him or her as a lead? Haley told you I'm a member of the City Council in Orem. And on the best day, you have 60% of the people happy with you, which means 40% aren't too happy with you. Do you think President Trump at any time is divisive? He might have people liking him and people who don't like him. And the same was true of Barack Obama and other presidents. But that's part of leadership, and you can see that in how we move forward. I hope that whatever you do in your life, you'll be able to say you made a difference, that you did that. One of the speakers who spoke said, I'm excited about talking about taking smart risk. The fear is those that are predetermined to take risk say, the teacher told me to take risk. And those who are predetermined to not take risks said, the teacher said, be very safe in the risks that you take. What did the teacher say? To take smart risk. What do you hear? Don't take risks, they're risky. Or go in. So I hope you'll take some risk in life. There's 2 kinds of risks, the risk of failure and the risk of not having accomplished. I hope you'll lean on being more fearful of being fearful that you didn't accomplish something, and that you'll learn to take smart risk as you listen to these speakers. Okay, what are we up to next? Is this, okay, you know who I am. I'm the instructor. She introduced me. This is a 1 credit hour class. Have any of you taken this class before? Because this is a repeatable class. And it's not because they failed, it's just because they're interested in getting a new set of speakers. Each semester gets a new set of speakers. It's a 1 credit hour class, and it's here. How many of you signed up for the lunch today? There should be a dozen or so of you. After lunch, for those of you who've read the syllabus, you know about this, and Haley will talk about it in more detail. You'll be able to attend a lunch. And and that's where you really get some great questions. But I hope you won't be afraid. Most speakers will save some time for questions at the end, and I will today too, and ask the questions. And then if you have the opportunity to go to lunch with him or her, that's where you can really ask questions. Particularly those who have been involved with public companies. Sometimes they can't say as much here when they're on mic and being recorded, and they can say more when they're at lunch with you. So sign up. Today you'll find out who all the speakers are, and if you're interested, sign up immediately with Haley, because you can sign up for 1 for sure, and you can be a backup for a second, right, Haley? You're going to go through that. I'm stealing some of your thunder, I'm sorry. But if you really like speaker X, Y, or Z who's coming, send an email to Haley on Canvas and say, I really would like to be there when that speaker's here. And then almost every question you have is in the syllabus. So if you ask a question and I say it's in the syllabus, that's a way of saying, don't forget to read what's in the syllabus. And I know about half of you haven't looked at the syllabus yet because we get to see when you log on. So in the syllabus will be all the details. Today will be kind of a summary of some of the things that are in the syllabus. If you need anything, ask the TA. Ms. Haley, why don't you come to the mic because I think you're going to be doing some of the next things. Haley has been with us now. Is this your 4th semester?
Yeah.
It's been great to have Haley with us. And Haley is not a business student yet. We're bringing her to enough of these lectures that we're corrupting her from the arts that she thinks she wants to do and teaching her some business side of it as well. One more thing, and then I'm going to say why you should pay attention. You don't, yeah, okay, good. Boy, she was running away from me.
Sorry.
Just pay attention. In this class, if you take some notes about whoever the lecturer is and you submit that, that's points, and she'll tell you more about it. And it's also a way for you to stay focused. So we hope with your laptops open, you're not watching a cat video or doing homework for another class. We hope you're taking some brief notes so that by the time you leave here, you have everything accomplished that you need to do. You've listened to the lecture. You've learned 2 or 3 points that he or she is going to share with you that you think could help you in your leadership, and you're done with it for the day. So, why don't you go over these? I'll give you the mic. You can talk.
Oh, okay.
Can you see it okay?
I got one.
Here.
Thank you. Okay, so the purpose of this course, these are kind of like the core objectives that we have been given. The first one is to describe the variety of jobs available in business and requirements for each job. So hopefully you'll be able to kind of get a feel for all these different executives. They come from lots of different fields, lots of different CEOs or CFOs, and hopefully you'll get an idea of what kind of field you want to go into. I don't know how to use this.
You point up there.
And which button do I push?
And
this?
the forward. Did you get it? There you go.
Okay. So the second one, evaluate career aspirations and employment opportunities, as well as discuss ideas of mutual interest with business leaders. So that's a lot of what you'll be able to do in the luncheons as well is discuss those ideas. So you represent UVU and more importantly yourselves. So treat our speakers with courtesy and make a good impression as they come. We're going to go over some of the rules that are required to being in the Reagan Theater, and a lot of those kind of fall back on respecting yourselves and UVU and the speakers. Yeah, we'll get to that. So anyway, so don't leave your cell phones on, like Tom said. Keep the laptops just to note so that you can be able to give that courtesy to the speakers that they deserve. Don't bring food or beverages in the theater. That's a requirement for here. There's lots of nice performances that go on in the theater, and so it's important that we keep this nice so that we keep using it so you can have this opportunity. Don't do homework for other classes while you're in here, but you can take notes that you'll submit later on for the class, so you can do your homework for this class while you're in here. So things that you should do is ask questions during the presentation. Oftentimes, the speakers it'll either be interactive, or at the end, they'll leave about 15 to 10 minutes for just Q&A, so come prepared with questions that you could ask. Same thing. Do express your appreciation to the speaker after the session, and work on your speaker reviews for this course, which we'll talk about a little more in a minute. Okay, so this is a pass-fail class, so you need 100 points to pass. There's about 156 points available, so it's pretty easy. All you have to do pretty much is come to the lectures, and you're almost guaranteed to pass. If you only get 99 points, then you fail, so make sure you get 100 points. So lecture attendance, you get 6 points for being on time. I gave you all an attendance slip when you walked in. They were those little white pieces of paper. If you didn't get one of those, I'll be back there after class. Just come and grab one from me. So what you'll do is you'll get those at the beginning. You'll fill out your name, your student ID number, and then after class, you'll turn them back into me. If you're late to class, you'll still get one, but it will say tardy on it, and you'll only get 4 points instead of 6 points.
And today you're waiving that.
Yeah, today everyone gets full points if you're here. But yeah, just coming to class on time, it's like 80 80-ish points, 86 points just for coming to class. So you're pretty much all the way there.
I'll go from here.
Okay.
One of the things that we ask you to do is to write up a little review on the speaker. And they can be positive or negative. It's not, you should write what you really thought of the speaker. But then Haley's kind enough to kind of grab those for me, and we share some of the nice ones with the speakers. Now, some of the speakers say, okay, I know they didn't all like me. Tell me what they said. And if they have enough courage, we tell them some of those as well. But some of the speakers say, thank you very much. I've spoken, and most of these people have spoken at a lot of events, and very few times have I gotten a reply back on how I did. So when you act professional as students, in fact, some of them have written checks that maybe some of you are living on scholarships. They've said that I was so impressed, and people who have never been to the campus before have written me checks shortly after they've been here because they were impressed with our student body and the questions you asked and the critiques you gave. So I'm excited about the opportunity to have you hear from some of my colleagues and some I don't know yet. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about each one of the people who are coming to speak. I think you know the first person who's coming to speak. President Taminas is coming next week. She is not free to stay for lunch after. So for those of you who might want to sign up for her, I encourage you to sign up for somebody else. But she is not available for lunch after. I think you know a lot about President Taminas. Obviously, I met her a few months ago when she came. I'm excited to have her speak. And her subject matter, hold on, I've got to grab my booklet. Somebody tell me what her subject matter is. You have the booklet. What I wish I'd known or something to that effect, isn't it? Leadership and trust, and then she has a little tagline. Oh, it doesn't say it on here. Okay, well, she's going to talk about the lessons she wished she had learned. We have limited space in the printed document. So excited to have her. Ken Woolley is a man that I've known for 35 years. We were both in junior high school together. I don't want you to think either of us are old. So Ken formed Extra Space Storage. Are you familiar with that, a storage place where you put your stuff? And he took it public and has done very well. I'm grateful to, I ran into Ken at an airport the other day and said, Ken, we'd love to have you come speak. So I was doing my job when I was traveling somewhere else and chased him down, and we visited in the Crown Room, and I said, would you come and speak to our students? And he was gracious enough to do this. I have never met this gentleman, Dr. Mike Bush. He works at Young Living. Young Living wrote to me and said, I've heard so much about your executive lecture series. We'd like to have one of our executives come and speak to you. I think they had a student who worked here and also worked there who bragged about the executive lecture series. Now, Dr. Bush comes from is that how you pronounce that, B-U-C-H? Is it Book? Someone know? By this 31st of January, I will know, and I'll introduce it right then. But he comes from a doctoral background, an educated man who's also developing some of their product line. Hiram Smith. How many of you have ever heard of Hiram Smith? Formed Franklin Covey with some other people. We're very excited to have him come speak. Hiram's been around for quite a little bit of time, and we're grateful to have him take his time to come up. Now, most of you know about the Woodbury family, do you not? You're all in the Woodbury School of Business. The Woodbury has multiple generations. They're now in kind of generation 4 that's working at the company. And that's unusual in a company to be 100 years old and still have success. Lynn Woodbury is generation number 3, and he's confined to a wheelchair. And he's going to talk about some of the hardship that comes, roadblocks and detour, managing the unexpected. That's going to be a raw, personal life experience that he's going to share with us. I ask you to be particularly sensitive to a man who's had physical impairment, but no mental impairment. Here's a man who's willing to share very personal some of the experience that have happened to him in his life. And I'm very grateful to have Lynn come and speak to us. John Curtis, Congressman Curtis, has been a friend of mine for many years. I was on the city council in Orem when he was mayor of Provo, and we'd have a lot of interaction, and I knew John before that when he was an executive with Action Target. If all goes well and the government's opened, he'll be able to be here. Hopefully by February 14th, we'll be able to see John Curtis. February 21st. He's on the 21st. So John agreed to speak, I think in part because he got shown up by Mitt Romney, then running for senator, now Senator Mitt Romney, and I twisted John's arm and asked him to come and speak. So I think whether you agree with him politically, again, you don't need to agree with these leaders to learn something from them. And I'm not trying to say you need to be a Republican or a Democrat or right-wing or left-wing, you don't. But he's had leadership skills that he's learned in business, and as a mayor of Provo, he wished he could have been the mayor of Orem, but he lived in Provo. There's really only two kind of people, those who live in Orem and those who wish they did, and he's one who wished he did. But so he's a great friend, a great speaker. I was grateful to be at his home on the night when the election results were announced and to join with him in his successes. But again, he's been a great leader and has succeeded in many different fields. After John speaks to us, a friend of mine by the name of Lou Kramer, who was president of the Utah World Trade Bank, and now he's the chairman, I think the president and CEO of Colliers, Utah. So that's Brandon Fugel. Brandon spoke to us last semester, for those of you who might have heard that, but Lou knows everyone on the planet. I know you don't know what a Rolodex is, but we still use that terminology. His contact list is huge. He knows presidents of the country. He knows everybody. And I love his desired topic. It's international business makes good dollars and cents. And you see, he did very carefully how he spent cents. S-E-N-S-E. He's been an international business leader and travels still quite a bit internationally. Grateful to have him here. The next speaker is Soren Halladay, who is a little closer to your age. He's a real estate developer. His father and mother, Reed and Christine Halladay, are who sponsors this lecture series. Soren is involved with PEG Development, a real estate development company in the Provo area. They obviously have holdings outside of the Provo area. But Soren is in his 30-something, a grad of UCLA Business School, and I think you'll think he's an entertaining speaker. We're looking forward to hearing him. Carolyn, I have never met before. She is the founder of a financial planning group. And so for those of you who might have, are any of you in PFP, any of you personal financial planning or in finance? I think you'll be interested in here's an accomplished woman who grew and developed a company very successfully. Spencer Eccles, his family had owned what was then First Security Bank. He's now in private equity. I got through him because I knew one of the people who worked for him who had worked with me, and that's the way you kind of make your contacts to see. He's a very successful man and has a very successful family and foundation, and I'm excited to have him speak. Here's another woman that I don't know, but one of my colleagues know. Crystal is the chairman and CEO of Flying J and will be able to come and speak to us. One of the comments I often get is, I wish you had more women speakers, and so do I. But right now there are more men leaders than there are women leaders, and the women leaders get asked 10 times to speak for every time the man leader gets. So I tried to get as many women leaders as I could to speak. And so for those of you who wish I had a little bit more, so do I. In fact, one of the students wrote me a note and said, here's a great woman from my company who could come speak. If you have a recommendation, please send it to me on Canvas. I would be welcome to hear it. The next speaker is a manager at Goldman Sachs. I've served with him briefly on a board, a nonprofit board, and excited to have him come to speak. Anthony will come and speak to us in April. Had to switch his time around 2 or 3 times. Megan was doing most of the juggling of his schedule. Megan, who helps us with this. Steve Peterson, who's a very successful real estate developer and a member of our National Advisory Board, is also coming to speak, and excited to have him come speak. I've only known him for a few years since I've been in. He was before I came to work at UVU, I was on the National Advisory Board for UVU's business school, and that's where I first met him. He's still on the board. They fired me because I'm an employee. And then the final speaker will be Scott Anderson, who's the president and CEO of Zions Bank. Excited to have him come and speak too. So all of these speakers have been accomplished, and all of them have made some mistakes too. Don't be afraid, as one of your questions, to say, were there any times you really messed up, or you had to come over a problem, or you had to overcome something? Or that's an easy question you can always ask them. Or what book have you read lately is always a question that you can ask them. and be prepared to ask questions.